Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Talks for Emerging Leaders. Leadership Talks is a podcast hosted by Leadership Card, a leadership coaching training organization. Leadership Card is the brainchild of four individuals, Kirandeep Sandhu, Ashish Datta, Ram Ramakrishnan, and Devesh Mohan, who share a common vision to support 1 million emerging leaders to solve problems for self, others, and the organization. Leadership Card runs leadership programs for individual contributors and corporate clients. Our coaches collectively have over 100 years of experience and come from diverse fields. Every week on Leadership Talks, we invite leaders from varied fields and industries to share their story and share tips and strategies which you can apply to accelerate your growth, personal and professional. Stay tuned till the end because every second of this podcast will add value and knowledge in your leadership journey. I'm your friend Kirandeep Sandhu, a leadership communication coach, and I'm here hosting today's episode along with Ashish Datta, titled as Leadership Challenges in the IT Sector. Over to you, Ashish.
Thank you, Kiran. So today we have the privilege of having with us Mr. Krishnan Gopalrao, Associate Vice President Innovation Labs at CSS Corp. CSS Corp is a global customer experience and technology services provider company. Headquartered in San Jose, California, CSS Corp has its footprints in many countries across the globe. Krishnan Gopalrao, better known to me as CGK, is a passionate leader with more than 2 years of experience in the IT industry. He's based out of Chennai and he holds a degree in MBA operations from Symbiosis, along with various technical certifications. He has been successfully managing various teams of various sizes across his span of 20 years and more in the IT industry. CGK is also an ardent lover of music and follows the game of cricket very closely. Thank you so much, CGK, for making time to be with us today. Thank you again.
Hi Ashish, hi Kiran. Very happy to be part of this initiative. Very happy though.
Thank you so much, Krishnan, for joining us today. Absolutely a pleasure. Ashish?
Indeed, it is, CGK. So, CGK, let me start with innovation.
Mhm.
We know it is important, but how critical do you think innovation is to the growth of the company?
Mhm.
And a related question I want to ask is based out of my own experience. If we look at the IT industry, the technical guys, especially the youngsters in the industry, they kind of there's always a feeling to be working only in billable projects. They really don't want to get into R&D or innovation, and how that can really move the company and themselves forward in their career. How has been your experience? How you're dealing with this kind of situation, and how it is really contributing to the growth of the company?
Sure. Ashish, I mean, we are definitely living in a digital transformation world now, right? Where a lot of technologies are coming up, especially with the growth of many startups, right? Startups, fintech companies. A lot of innovations are done day on day in this industry now, especially the Gen Y people. They wanted to be in an innovation kind of a zone, right? That definitely adds up more to their CV, and they will be able to learn more, right? So basically, it's a pride for them to go and say outside that I am part of innovation and R&D team, which does X, Y, Z, and so on and so forth, right? One of the best example is when we started augmented reality as a service. A lot of my teammates who are not even in the augmented reality space wanted to know what it is and they wanted to be part of that, right? So I strongly feel that at least as Gen Y people whom we are taking in, they always wanted to be working in multiple technologies, the newer ones, how they wanted to implement, how it is available, and mostly with the advent of this, statistical models, the AML and other. People wanted to be in that right away. You won't believe that whether they are good in statistics or maths or whatever it is, but they wanted to be part of the team at least who does the AM. So, but still, the initial my gen people, there was a feeling that they wanted to be part of billable projects because at the time, your growth, your remuneration, and everything depends upon which type of billing projects you are in, and all. But now I think a lot of companies have started to invest more on the innovation now because a lot of projects people have won because of their innovations. Even in a lot of our deals and other stuff which we work, and I also got to know from many other companies as well. Every customer wanted to know what you have invested in digital transformation piece, how it will accelerate my business, right? So if that is not there, then you will be rated very low. So I strongly feel that gone are the days where people gives more importance to the billable, as long the organization gives equal importance to those people who are in innovation in terms of growth and remuneration.
Yeah, thank you, CG. I think you make a couple of very interesting points. With the change in generation, now it's not the traditional learning one single technology. I think they now realize that you have to be in multiple technologies,
Yeah.
not even grow to survive and become that indispensable to the organization. That's one. And that learning spirit, I need to learn new technologies to innovate.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, the new generation, there has been mindset. And you make also a very important point, the company has to give equal importance in terms of compensation benefits. You should not look at it as a billable project. Maybe there is still a gap that the companies have to actually work about, I guess. So, yeah, you're very right in that. So, do you think there's still a gap there in terms of how the company looks at it? Or it's changing?
It depends upon the business model, Ashish. That is what I strongly feel. There are still companies who has put in a lot of effort only to make their people as billable. I strongly see that is still there. I don't say it is not there. But if you have to survive in this market for a very long time, earlier when I was 10 years and all, people used to say that you have to invest on a product because that is the way you can show your capability, right? If not, how will you show other customers implementation to your
Right.
other customers saying that we have done X, Y, and Z? But now people are not interested about product. They wanted accelerators, right? I wanted to implement project A. How fast I can make the customer to go to the market in a much faster way. So they don't wanted to invest on accelerators. They wanted to invest on the services, and accelerators should come as a part of it automatically, right? That
Right.
is why we have to score more in those parts. Most of the demonstrations are ending up like we are ending up showing our digital transformation needs, rather than who we are, what we do, how good we are in terms of services and technologies.
I think that's another very important point, I would say. There's a lot of confusion in mind about product and innovation. It's actually different. You have products and innovation is actually applying the new technologies in the course of your business and service. So, yeah, that's a very valid point that you made, very important one. So, CGK, on a lighter note, let's talk about music and cricket, very close to you. I know you're a big lover of cricket as well. How has that helped in your innovation and leadership journey?
So, some of the key moments I would like to share, Ashish and Kiran. Whenever MSD, CSK's captain and ex-Indian skipper, he always talks about process. Whether CSK or India loses or wins, he always says one word: process will take care. If you follow the process properly, and if you're ready to tweak the process based on the current needs, right? And if you apply it properly, then you will be successful one day. Don't expect the success on day one. And if you're
Mm,
expecting that, then you are not a process oriented guy at all.
mm,
Because process is always about CSI, right? In continual service improvement. You
mhm,
implement based on your experience. You keep watching it. You should be ready to change it. And the most important for effective leader is follow the process what you have put. Walk the talk, right? And if you are not following it and you were asking the team to follow it, it is never ever going to happen at all,
mm.
right? So that is what I strongly feel. And I also strongly feel I have put it in every single platform as well. My mantra: no pain, no gain. That is my mantra. Wherever I have succumbed to a lot of pain to learn to come out of a difficult situation, that is where I have learned a lot, right?
I think what Christian, you're also. It was very interesting that when we talk about innovation,
Mhm.
innovation is also a process. You will not be able to get it right. And when you've given this example of the skipper, that it's believe in the process and tweak it in as you proceed, tweak the current needs based on what is currently needed. That's the same idea that when, as innovators, you go into your labs and you're working with people, you need to know that it's not always going to work out, but there is a process in place and something will come at the end of the day, and you're not only focused on the product part of it. So that win is not, as even in cricket, if it's that win, is that the final, or is it actually going to be every little thing counts towards that complete package that you give to the audience? Yeah.
Yes.
So that was a very interesting add
Another,
on. Yeah.
another important aspect is if you see MSD or my other role models in the cricket or other industries as well, is Saurav Ganguly or A.R. Rahman, which I pick up on them. They always innovate something new. They always bring in some change, right? As a leader, if you are not ready to bring in a change, it is not going to help anyone. So you keep innovating, whether you are part of innovations or you're part of billable team or you're an entrepreneur, whatever it is, you have to put effort to innovate, right? And number two, what I have learned, right, over a period of time, once you become over experienced, some ego will, sitting here. Unless you shun that ego, right? Unless you shun that ego, this I have learned from my ardent fan of Rajinikanth, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Loving all the mixtures. We're getting all the stars in, which is making it that we have so much to learn from all these different models, role models in our life. It's the question is, are we really learning from them? So I'm really enjoying it. Question. So
Yeah.
what have we learned from Rajnikant?
So Rajinikanth, in one of the music launch one, he said, um, once a film has get a hit, massive hit, right? Then what he said is you will reach the peak of Everest, and then you will be in utmost joy, happiness, lot of ego will be in the mind that you are the best in the world, nobody can beat you. With that mindset, if you start another film, that film won't go well. You need to come down. You need to start as a fresher. You need to be on time for the set. You need to think what is the next I am going to do. If you're not going to do that for every single film, you are not going to reach the peak again. So that I have learned very clearly in my life. There will be a lot of ups in your life. Don't get, you know, so motivated or passionate. And please note, there will be a lot of people around you to always say you are great.
Absolutely.
I
But
think,
please don't,
yeah.
Krishnan, we all, I think me and Ashish really enjoyed this conversation. Yes, Ashish, what do you want to
I
add?
think not to talk of MSG schoolness, which is also required for captains. So I think that's a very good projection of how we can link the two and a real lesson for the youngsters today, how they should look at it. So, Sijika, let's move on to another very important and burning subject in the IT industry, which is the remote management.
Yeah.
How you manage team remote, is it working out? And more important, the work life balance which comes along with it. How are you facing up the challenges and working towards? Because now this is a reality. Let's accept the fact, the hybrid model. So, what is your take on this?
See, I think the initial part of the remote working was okay because I already know all those people and I had a lot of trust in my team. But over a period of time, when the real churn happens and you start getting new people on the board, it was so difficult for me to understand them, right? Because I am a person who always talk with my team, understand them. Even on a day, if they are not well, also I'll be able to see their face and understand. Having done that kind of an people management for over a period of time, all of a sudden you are in your home and you have to manage everyone. That was really really tough for me. Even for me, for a longer period of time, I was having my boss, you know, sitting next to me. All of a sudden, I have started receiving my boss who are away from the shore. So I have to build trust with them. I need to trust with my team, so on and so forth. That was initially tough for me personally, but over a period of time, I've learned the art of having a lot of meetings with them. While I am not a great fan of having a lot of meetings, I rather I spend time with them. So I was forced to do that to understand them in a much much better way. And people have been complaining me that there is no work-life balance and so on and so forth. But I saw those only from the people who are not able to manage their time well.
Hmm.
Okay, especially with Gen Y, and I also know with Gen Z that is going to be a problem because they always wanted to start early, leave early, and they want to have a proper work-life balance. So we plan the quarter so well so that it is not hitting them. And also people used to spend a lot of time at home because they are not able to do it on time. That is what I strongly feel. If you manage your time well, then work-life balance is all about you. It is not about anyone else. If you're able to manage your time well, complete stuffs on time, then you're good to go. And I also understood based on like a lot of recent trips to US and other parts of the world, they work proper 8 hours. When is it proper? It is proper eight hours. They focus. But I don't think here the focus is still there. We tend to work more, but I don't think people should complain about it as long you are able to complete the work within 8 or 9 hours of your work. That is what I personally feel.
Thank you so much, Krishna. I mean, you've shared it. I mean, so now we've looked at the challenge that you personally felt as a leader, especially handling your remote teams. I mean, person who is always wanting to be in control, someone who wants to always have people around it. I know how it can feel that there's no connect. So now it was about rebuilding those connects again. So that's one
Yeah.
of the challenges that you've shared. But in this process of also being a person as a leader, as an I would say an innovation leader in the IT business, you've talked about your role model like Rajnikant, or AR Rahman, who talks about he's constantly changing. Innovation is always coming. But you've also shared that example of ego, which is also a challenge that people have to undergo, right? The challenge of ego comes in. We have to always come down that mountain to restart, and we are not able to do it. So these
Yeah.
are some of these challenging changes and challenges that you've shared it. But from your own personal journey, would you be able to share like what could be maybe one key challenge other than what happened during the pandemic where everybody faced, or one or two key challenges that you faced as a leader, and how were you able to overcome them to become who you are today?
Sure. So one important aspect is, as I said, on the process perspective, right? I strongly felt that when we talk people to people, the process implementation, follow up, and everything was actually good. But when we start working remotely, it was so difficult for me to, trace what is
Mm,
happening and so on and so forth.
mm,
Again, I'm not talking about the basic process here. When you say process, as a whole, right from the technology to your day-on-day process implementations, following the best practices, architectures, and so on and so forth. The best way, what I thought after doing lot of permutation and combinations, having a very short meeting.
mm,
Okay, I started with 1 hour meetings and then I reduced it to half an hour.
mm,
Now I am having only 15 minutes max.
mm.
And in that also, I ensure I ask the right questions
Fantastic.
and I
Mm,
will also ensure I get the right answers. And if it is done, I will close the meeting immediately.
nice.
I wanted to give back that time to them because I don't want them to feel that if it is Krishnan's meeting or anyone's meeting, it is just waste of a time where he will ask questions, 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 questions,
Um,
questions. And it is complete waste of time. While I want them to have a better work-life balance, I should not be a reason for having so many meetings and end up having a trouble for the work-life balance. So I think as a manager, which I have learned from Ashish also, how to manage your outlook to properly, which I'm still following it, right? Uh, I will not have any meetings more than 15 minutes unless it warrants for it.
Okay,
That
this
is
is
what I
this is a very good add-on, Krishnan. I mean, I know that you talked about, not a person about meetings, and that is definitely a challenge that all industrial people in corporate, or all these, we're constantly bogged down with one meeting to the next. And
yeah,
I've learned too, with working with Ashish, that how important, if the meeting is important, only then have that meeting. And that's
yes,
why in that leadership card, as one of the programs you really talk about is priority management or time management. That's one of the courses that we teach also, because
yeah,
it's not only about respecting your own time, but respecting the people's time, giving back them the time so that they can be
very true.
efficient and produce and bring profitable growth to the organization. That's what Ashish would always say. Like, let's work our organization towards profitable growth, and you need to
Yeah,
be doing that by using your time in the most effective manner. So you've talked about a challenge and how you overcome that by making your time meetings very efficient.
yeah.
That's a really good. I love this 15-minute blocks and ask the right questions. Do you
Yeah.
actually send them the questions in advance, so that they can actually bring those answers?
Most of the time, yes. When I set the meeting itself, I will set the in context of what I want so that they are
Okay.
also well prepared. And
Mhm.
if at all they are not prepared for any reason, I will close the call immediately saying, I want these items. Let us meet tomorrow or day after tomorrow whenever you are ready so that we can meet. Because there is no point in beating the bush again, saying, I want this, I want this, I want this.
And I think that is what is actually pushing you to creating a very positive environment and creating these resilient teams, because now they have to be working to be getting those answers and being produced. I mean, working in such a way that you can actually get the work done in the most efficient manner. So that's
Yeah,
creating a very positive environment where they know you respect them, their time, and they should also give the same kind of respect to you by having everything ready and being present in these meetings if and when they are necessary. So I think that already answers one of the questions that I was trying to talk about from the culture point of view. So I'm
yeah.
going to push it back to Ashish to ask the next question, which I think is nearly the last question, I believe.
Yeah. So, CGK, thank you for all your inputs. One thing that stood out for me is it is not about work life balance, it's about time management, correct? That's a
Absolutely.
very key point which came out and very well said about that. So, we are coming to almost the end of the show. My last question to you is like this: as a senior leader in the industry today, it is always a give and take. There are certain things a leader should do for the team, and there are certain things expected from the team themselves because it's not a one-way game, correct? So, if what are those three key things a leader should do to build that resilient teams, and what are the three things expected from the teammates?
Sure. Number one is trust. I strongly feel trust is the most important factor. Number two, uh, you should have a right attitude,
Hmm.
because I can teach anyone the technology, not the attitude. So number two is attitude. Number three is you should have you should be ready to learn multiple technologies and don't get married to one single technology. Gone are the days where you are seen as an expert in one technology, because with the advent of APIs and other stuff which are available in the market, you can just plug and play any technologies, right? So don't get married to one tool or one technology. If that tool has gone down in the market, you are nothing. So always be ready to learn multiple technologies, and be very strong in your basics. Once you are very strong in programming, you can do in programming in anything, right? So that is what I strongly feel the three important stuff which will which you have to follow, and once you become a leader you should follow it very very strongly. That is more and more important, because if I don't learn multiple technologies and if I'm not helping my team, then whom they will look for it to. So that is what I strongly feel, that it is very important for every single leader to do all of this stuff with very very this thing.
Yeah.
Krishnan, you brought this very interesting thing, and I'm actually jumping in. You've talked about foundation, and then you've talked about three ingredients. And to our viewers, I want you to be looking forward to the book that has been coming soon by our coach, self leadership architect Ashish Datta, who talks about the foundations of self leadership. And some of the key ingredients that Krishnan has just talked about are very well explained in the book, which is about the different pillars that you need to accelerate your self leadership growth, and which is including about trust, the attitude. I would put it under the maturity, and
Yeah.
be a learner. And he does share about all these things. I just had to add that in because that was very well put about
Yeah,
how.
and I focus on the three main things: relationships, which is trust, maturity, and communication. How you come across to people. That's also a very important point. I think CGK, thank you so much. You summarized it so well. I think at the end, the point you made is what really matters. I think. In fact, I would say from your the conversation today, 3 points stood out for me, and I'll start with the last one which came, which is good leadership is about walking the talk. It's exactly the point. If you do it, your team is bound to follow. I think that's the key point that came about from your conversation. Second is about time management. It is not about work life balance, it is about time management, how you do it.
Yes.
Third was a very clear direction that people must build multiple technologies, something that we have fought for very long. And I think that's what is becoming a reality. And you very clearly pointed out people should make a mindset of to get into that kind of multiple technology, but that's the need of the hour. So these were the three takeaways and standouts for me. Kiran,
And
what were
I
yeah.
would like to add just one, that as a leader, don't start anything on a high. Always come to the foundation level, start from the bottom and rise up to the top of the mountain. And when you achieve a success, come back to the bottom and start
Yeah.
afresh. So that was a big takeaway for me. And I wanted to just say thank you to Krishnan, again for joining us today on this episode of Leadership Talks. Our Leadership Talks for Emerging Leaders will be back next week with another leader to share their leadership journey. Do follow us on our Facebook page as well as on Spotify and Apple Podcast and our website, which is www.leadershipcard.com for more information regarding courses and programs that we have, standard courses as well as customized programs for individual contributors as well as corporate trainings. Till next time, this is your host Kirandeep Sandhu signing off along with Krishnan and as well as Ashish Datta. Thank you so much, Krishnan, for being here today.
Thank you, CG. It was a pleasure having you on our show. Thank you very much.